doing our last episode, we had been doing a fair bit of research going into that video, and I've got to admit I had a bad attitude going into it. I was upset with all the lies that all the other so many other channels were telling everyone, and it maybe came across that I was upset with the viewership and or the audience, and really I wasn't. And I listened to it, and it didn't sound good to me. So we're redoing it, and I apologize for my attitude, but it wasn't meant to be directed at the audience at all. I don't like you guys being lied to. I don't like so many others that we're never going to reach being lied to as part of this. So I found that upsetting. I had a bad attitude about it.
You did.
Yeah.
And you didn't get your brownie as a result.
No.
So.
No brownie.
But now you get one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, everybody. I'm Esther, and welcome to Feed My Sheep, Earthquake Reports, and more. And tonight is now February 21st, even though we did start this on the 20th, and we are redoing this. And some information that I put at the last of the video, I now want to move up front, and that will probably help explain why Terry was unhappy.
Yeah.
With the way things were going.
Grumpy.
Grumpy, yes. And so what it is we were both extremely upset with other videos that we had watched, some that had been brought to us to pay attention to, because people were worried that these things of a mega tsunami was going to happen. It was going to be 1,500 meter high waves coming in, going inshore up the USA, like what was that Deep Impact movie? With Morgan Freeman and Elijah Woods, where all the tsunami that goes up into the Appalachians, and we're seeing stuff like that, and it's very frustrating. So people I want to call out, excuse me.
Okay.
Thank you. I love him. Anyway, the people that, yes, we are calling out and saying, shame on you for not doing your research, not doing it thoroughly. Shame on you for scaring everybody. For what? For views, rating, sponsorship money, people to donate to you? Where, all of you, where is your Christian attitude? Where is feeding your sheep? Where is taking care of one another? Fear-mongering. That's bad. That's awful. You shouldn't do it, and shame on you. I'm talking to you, Mr. Benoon from Israeli News Live. Dutch Scent, you should know better. Hal Turner Radio, we had more people calling because of what you said than you can shake a stick at. Night Shadows, we heard your stuff, totally uninformed. And getting into numbers and stuff with it? No. This had nothing to do with that. And nothing of this is of biblical proportions. Please, stop. And BBC London, you started all of this. You, with your documentary that you threw together based on a 2001 pseudoscience
insurance report.
Yes, absolutely. So shame on all of you guys. Now, there's one person we will give kudos to, and that is BP Real Earth Watch. We saw his, we listened to his, and he was spot on in everything he said. Now, there's times when we've watched and we haven't agreed with what he said on earthquake stuff, but he got this one dead on.
One more.
Absolutely dead on.
Armchair volcanologist.
Yes, armchair volcanologist as well. He got this dead on right.
They did the science.
They did the science behind this and common sense. So that is what got Terry and I both upset, but especially Terry. So again, we apologize for that. Shame on those that we listed. You should really redo your reports after you've done research.
And you should apologize to your audience, because this was like straight up gossip, no research. We found all kinds of science to support our positions, and that's what we're basing our presentation on. There is not going to be any tsunami.
Okay? Now, the thing is,
No mega-tsunami.
No mega-tsunami. Now,
You might get a 5-foot or a 10-foot tsunami.
maybe.
Maybe.
Yes. So, but the thing is, and we will preface this like we always do, that this video is for education and entertainment only, especially on a subject matter as highly sensitive as this. Can you imagine the damage these other people have done?
Oh, the amount of
It's terrible. It's terrible. So, do your own research. Listen to what we say, but we've put the facts on here. We've put sources on here that you can stop the video and look at it, or write down what we've said and go check it out for yourself. And that's what you should always do, because we know that all of you here are learning, and you're going to go back and feed your sheep for Jesus. Feed them meat. Feed them the right food. Feed them the truthful food. Okay? So, off our soapboxes, let's get into this to show you why there is not going to be a devastating mega tsunami from the Canary Islands. But before we start,
a prayer. Do you want to read this one?
Sure. Okay. Here we go. Dear Heavenly Father, Jesus, and Holy Spirit, thank you for listening to us this evening. And Father, we come before your throne in all humbleness and humility, and we ask and we beg for your guidance, please, in this matter. We ask that you show us the truth always, and that we speak the truth always, and in righteousness. And if our anger is there, that it is righteous anger. But never will we do anything in violence about it. We will just voice our opinions. And we ask for you to guide us and to teach us, Jesus, to teach us patience and wisdom like you had, and you still have. We ask both of you again this evening to protect our audiences, those who are listening and watching, and that you guide them and you speak to them about this matter and about what is coming in the future. You know the times when and where and how to give us peace and acceptance, or get up and go and fight. So we ask for that from you both this evening. We give you both all praise and glory in every matter here. And Father, you above all, because you are the Creator. You are our Creator and no one else. You know the beginning from the end and everything in between. And we are so grateful for that. So we praise you. We give you honor. We cover you in glory and thankfulness. And we speak this word, this prayer, and we seal it with truth, with thankfulness, and with honesty in everything. In Jesus, we ask in your name that you please, by your grace, give this to Father to be heard. Amen.
Amen.
Alrighty, let's go.
So,
breathe. 1, 2, 3.
All right. We're going to begin with the science. And it's really important to include history in science because it's all a package. Now, La Cumbra, Cumbra Vea has erupted. This is the 6th time since 1585. So 1585, 1646, 1668, 1712, 1949, and 1971. And the history is that in none of those, actually that's 6, so this is the 7th, in none of those was there a tsunami, a major tsunami. Not a mega tsunami, but not even a major one.
Right.
And so what has changed about the island now that would cause people to think that there is? Well, there's a crack on the eastern side. Now the eastern side, it's a mile-long crack. And keep in mind, this island is 570 square kilometers in size, and it's not the big volcano, the big old one at the north end that's erupting. It's a little half-mile diameter volcano at the south end, and there's a side vent that's now erupting as well. It's not actually Cumbria Bay that's erupting. It's a new side vent or a reopened side vent. But I think there's 18 ash cones, and Cumbria Bay is one of the ash cones on the way up. Yeah, it's all following the line up there, and we'll get to this. But basically, this island is fairly squat on the west side. It's a low slope island compared to a lot of volcanoes. It's the east side that is steep sided, facing the other islands and facing Africa. So you can see it's much steeper on the eastern side.
Look the way it drops off into the ocean immediately.
And it's got a lower slope taper on the west side. And with the fracture being on the east side, if it pushes anywhere, if there's a steam burst that pushes this island out, and that's extremely unlikely in the first place, but if it did, it would push towards Africa. Yeah. So there you go.
And towards the Mediterranean somewhat.
And the Mediterranean somewhat.
Now, this is a picture from the Instituto Geográfico Nacional out of Spain.
Yeah.
And even though you can't see it off to the side over here on the screen, here is a list of the magnitude earthquakes within the last, 10 hours of today, just on the 20th. If you can read them off really quick.
Yeah, that's a 2.2, a 3.0, a 3.8, a 2.3, a 2.5, a 2.4, a 3.0, a 2.0, a 2.2, a 2.8, a 2.3, and I'm not sure what the next one was.
So are you getting the idea that these quakes are not big, large, huge, devastating quakes? Okay, and this was over a matter of hours and hours. It's not one after the other, one on top of the other. And twos you don't normally feel. Now, you might feel some rumbling just because of so many of them, and there was a lot of smaller magnitude quakes as well.
Yeah, that's
okay. Right. And if any of you have been in an earthquake, stop and think. What size it was, what did you feel? My largest was a 5.9. Let me tell you, it did shake really, really well. The walls undulated in and out. The ceiling popped up and down, and it shook, and it created a 4-foot crack in the Crocker Bank in San Francisco. So I am quite well aware of what earthquakes do, and I've been in several more. So a 2.5, a 2.2, a 2.3, even a 3.8, those are very hard to feel, okay? Even though in the thousands and thousands that they titillated everyone with were in the ones.
Yeah.
Very
small.
Very small. Not even, they were just a little bit above the step of the PNS.
PNSN calls tremors earthquakes larger than these, the smaller ones. They call them tremors. But,
yeah.
Whatever.
So anyway, that's just what you say, yeah, but there was 5,000 and 10,000 quakes. You have to remember how small these are.
You should see how many earthquakes there are down at Salton Sea, but much larger magnitudes than these.
Yeah.
At Salton Sea, and it's not erupting, and the same east of LA and at Mount Shasta, and all kinds of different places. Yeah.
We just wanted to bring that up. Okay. I did it. Yay.
Good job. So let's scroll down and have a look at the size of this. So just
excuse me.
This one.
Which one?
No, this one here. Yeah. So this is Cumbria Bay. Now I'm not absolutely sure that it's just this one cone. I believe it is, but even if it's this 3 in a complex, this is only a half mile across, and I'm not talking about just the caldera. Here, let me take control of this. This is the caldera here. The cone goes from here to here. That's a half mile across. From here, if we have a 3 caldera complex, and we're calling it Cumbria Bay, that is a mile by half a mile. That's not a large volcano. That's very small.
Very small.
And that's not actually where it's erupting. It's erupting over here. It's erupting down in this area where the population is, and people have built right up to where this is erupting.
These vents are.
Yeah.
Right.
So we can see some side vents down here, and this is a chain of volcanoes, volcanic cones and fissures along this route. And I think I counted 18 of them, but there's more along the side as well that lead up to the old, very large vent. That very large vent is quite ancient, and it's not active.
Pliocene.
And it's Pliocene, yeah.
Pliocene period.
So this is looking at the large one. This isn't erupting, okay? This is a little over 6 miles across in diameter from the bottom of the upper part of the cone, but the bottom of it, not the caldera itself. That's about 6 miles across. We're way down here at a half mile across. You understand what I'm saying? And this is where the vent is down here. And look at how close the population is right in here.
They built right up to it.
They built right up to where the vent is. And
so when you're getting these pictures of devastation of house fires and everything, when you have your lava fountains and they're tossing up chunks of molten rock and lava and everything else, and they're catching shingles on houses and tiles on houses, yes, they're going to burn, especially when you take night shots of them.
Yeah.
Very dramatic.
I think they're within a quarter of a mile of where the volcanoes venting,
very close.
Blowing ash.
And it's really hard to control our emotions, but we have to stop and do that.
Now, consider, Mount Etna was blowing to 40,000 feet and a much bigger diameter
on an
volcano.
Island.
And it's an unstable island, and it didn't slough. It didn't split. It didn't cause a tsunami in the Mediterranean.
Oh, sorry.
And had there been a big slide off of that thing, I mean, that thing's got a huge, much bigger risk of creating a slide event or creating a tsunami than La Palma does. Just because the Cumbre Vella volcano, which is down here, is so small in relation to the island. It's down on, you could cut this island into quarters. It's down on the bottom quarter of the island. And that means that the rest of the island is all really stable. So how does this little volcano down in the south get the island to split in half?
And the rift is right down there, the mile rift?
Yeah, it's down here. And it's on this side, which is going to...
The east side, yeah.
Yeah, if it's going to take it anywhere, it's going to knock this east side off this way. So this doesn't... All of the statements...
About the rift pushing it west and all of this is going to collapse into the ocean.
Does the little part push the big part? Because that's what has to happen for a tsunami to go to the west. The small part has to push the big part. Yet the small part is the steep-sided part that will fall into the ocean. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
So this is an article called "Killing Off the Canary Island Landslide Mega-Tsunami Scare."
This was posted in 2013.
Posted by Dave Petley. Now, for those of us working on and researching natural hazard, one topic repeatedly comes up at social events. Conversation usually goes like this: new acquaintance. So what do? Me. I research natural hazards, and in particular landslides. New acquaintance. Oh, is it true that one of the Canary Islands is going to collapse in a giant landslide? I was told it'll cause a tsunami that'll devastate the coasts of Europe and America. Me. Excuse me. I'm just going to bang my head on the table. Bump. The question, of course, refers to a scare a few years ago, and this is a 2013 paper, a few years ago based on a peer-reviewed paper that a flank collapse at Cumbre Vella volcano on the island of La Palma in the Canary Islands could collapse, generating a mega-tsunami that would initially be about 1,000 meters high and would still be about 50 meters high when it reached, for example, the eastern seaboard of the USA. It is fair to say that in my experiences, there is agreement that such a flank collapse could occur. Okay, so there's agreement that such a flank collapse could occur, and there is lots of evidence that such events have happened in the past, but the level of support for the mega-tsunami hypothesis is, shall we say, somewhat lacking within the scientific community. And that's a nice way to say it. It's been heavily debunked. There's a nice evaluation of the work by Dr. George Pereiras Karayanis, which concludes that the threat of a mega-tsunami generation from collapses of oceanic island stratovolcanoes has been greatly overstated. No mega-tsunamis can be expected. So we're going to go to that article, since it's been quoted now. And this is from 2002. We earlier reported a study based on a geologic study of La Palma. That was in our last episode. And that episode said that it would take 600 million fighter jet engines hooked up to the island to pull it apart.
That's a lot of horsepower.
Yeah. Anyway. That's just to give you a perspective. I won't get into the newtons involved. The key issue here is the mechanics of the landslide. To generate a very large tsunami, this slide would have to happen very fast and as an essentially coherent block. Remember that this is a landslide of 500 cubic kilometers, and that's what they need to generate this mega tsunami. We do not think that very, very large landslides usually behave like this. The chances are that a collapse would occur in stages over a longer period of time, which would generate a much smaller wave. Most scientists recognize that the single intact block collapsing very fast idea is theoretically possible, but that it is the extreme end member of a wide range of scenario and thus highly unlikely. They didn't put any odds to it. I wish they had, because I think it's up in the 1 in 10,000 range. Anyway, there are other issues too, like where are the tsunami deposits from other mega tsunamis, given that we know that previous collapses have occurred. In other words, there's no evidence that of seafloor evidence that any mega tsunamis collapses have occurred.
You read that from the 2006 report where divers did go down and take samples.
Yeah, I don't think I read it out of that one. It was another one. There's yet another one where divers took samples and they proved that there were no mega tsunamis or major collapses
off the Canary Islands or in La Palma in particular.
Yeah. Because a tsunami on this scale would leave deposits that are very easy to map. Unfortunately, though, most landslide scientists view the likelihood of a single coherent landslide as being very low. And the actual evidence to support that view of massive landslides has not been strong.
Now, from armchair volcanologist, another person we give kudos to, he said, the island is comprised of many volcanoes, including an excellent Pliocene and Pleistocene northern shield volcano, and the active Pleistocene-Holocene Cumbreveja. Cumbreveja is the most active volcano in the Canary Islands, last erupting in 1971. The northern shield lavas comprise of basanites, alkali basalts, tephrites, phonolites, and trachylites, reflecting magma evolution during the shield building stage. The younger Cumbreveja volcano has more basaltic lavas.
In other words, even though they're talking about the stratovolcanoes, what they're actually talking about is primarily basaltic volcanoes, because basalt is the main makeup of the lava.
Now, a few people have said, "Oh my gosh, there's poison gases coming out of the lava. People are going to die. It's poisonous," and that we were making light of it. Now, if everybody holds on for a second, gases come out of volcanoes all the time, do they not? Gases build up from hot springs and swamps from volcanoes letting off steam, letting off pressure and gases. And if you remember the lava going into the water from the Kilauea event, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now?
3 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. There were gases coming up from the lava as it hit the ocean water. And do you remember those two tour boats that got too close and they actually had people die on those two boats? It was from the gases releasing from the lava as it hit the salt water of the ocean. So again, this is nothing biblical. This is nature doing what nature does.
It's called VOG in Hawaii.
VOG,
They're
yeah.
used to it. They stay away from it, and that's the safe thing to do. And if you get too close and you're downwind of it, you can end up commonly with coughing and choking sensation, because the acid that's in that and the different gases that are in that are hard on the lungs.
Well, and it did kill people.
Well, it did on the water, yeah. So
there's
we're
nothing
not
scary and oh my gosh about that, as has been reported.
It's a local. The issue is not that there is no threat with this volcano.
Of course there is.
Of course there are threats. There are threats to the locals. We're focusing on the worldwide effects that people are talking about regarding mega-tsunamis wiping out much of the eastern seaboard of the U.S. It's absolute nonsense. There's no science to support it. It's fear-mongering. It's unsubstantiated. It's not even science. There's some weak material, weakest of possible science, very flawed. It just makes no sense.
I don't know if you wanted to read this one or not.
Yeah, let's do this quick.
Okay, go for it.
Massive flank failures.
This is by George Pararis Karianis.
Yeah. Evaluation of the threat of mega-tsunami generation from postulated massive slope failures of island volcanoes on La Palma, Canary Islands, and on the island of Hawaii. Because consider, Hawaii has Helena slump, and that's been the big risk, and it has not collapsed either, because
nor has it torn the island in half.
One of the things that you will learn is that even though there are hundreds of volcanic islands in the Pacific and the Atlantic, not one of them has ever caused a mega-tsunami to travel great distances. So tsunamis caused by volcanic explosions is not a thing. It's a fantasy at this point. There's
really
no evidence.
Movie.
Yeah. Anyway, massive flank failures of island stratovolcanoes are an extremely rare phenomenon, and none have occurred within recorded history. So at least the last 500 years, out of 200 plus volcanic islands around the world. Recent numerical modeling studies forecasting mega-tsunami generation from postulated massive slope failures of Kamehameha in La Palma, Canary Islands, and Kilauea in Hawaii have been based on incorrect assumptions of volcanic island slope instability, source dimensions, speed of failure, and tsunami coupling mechanisms. Incorrect input parameters and treatment of wave energy propagation and dispersion have led to overestimates of tsunami far field effects. In other words, the stuff that ends up traveling a great distance away, it says they don't have the power to cause a long distance traveling tsunami.
And don't forget, you're going to say yes, but the earthquake or the tsunami that hit Japan in 1700, that was from a mega thrust subduction zone earthquake off the west coast of Canada and the U.S. Over how many miles?
Oh, that covers about 900 miles. That's a 900-mile fault shifting all pretty much at once. It's a massive, and there's
and so when you have your subduction, what happens? One goes under, other goes over, push goes the water.
Yeah, because what happens in a subduction earthquake is the land extends over top, displacing the ocean to the west. Okay, so the ocean... the continent, because of the upwelling, the bending upwards of the continent, that is measured by GPS stations, it is going to extend something in the neighborhood of 55 feet towards Japan and towards Eurasia. And when it does that, it's going to generate a large tsunami. Because if you move much of a continent 55 feet into the ocean, or maybe a little more. We don't know exactly how far it'll go, but something like 55 feet. Then it's going to push a lot of water. You displace water, it creates a tsunami. That's the way it works. But volcanoes don't typically displace a lot of water. and we'll get to that in a minute. So, inappropriate media attention and publicity to such probabilistic results have created unnecessary anxiety that mega-tsunamis may be imminent and may devastate densely populated coastlines at locations distant from the source in both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. They're calling this have created unnecessary anxiety. In other words, fear-mongering. That's a scientific word for it. The present study examines the assumptions and input parameters used by probabilistic numerical models and evaluates the threat of mega-tsunami generation from flank failures of island stratovolcanoes. Based on geologic evidence and historical events, it concludes that massive flank collapses of Cumbria or Kilauea volcanoes are extremely unlikely to occur in the near geologic future. The flanks of these island stratovolcanoes will continue to slip aseismically, in other words, not generate great earthquakes or tsunamis, as in the past. In other words, they've always just settled, and that's what they'll continue to do. Sudden slope failures can be expected to occur along faults paralleling rift zones. Okay, so if you get a slope, a very steep slope on a rift zone, and the slope fails because of an earthquake along that rift zone, that's normal. But these occur in phases over a period of time, and not necessarily as a single, sudden, large-scale, massive collapse. And that's the case in tsunami generation elsewhere as well. When you have a very steep bench created in the ocean or a trench, and you get a collapse down that steep-sided trench. I mean, you can get some of that as well.
Keep it short for the folks.
Okay. Most of the failures occur in the upper flanks of the volcanoes above and below the sea level, rather than at the base near the ocean floor. The sudden flank failures of volcanoes Mauna Loa and Kilauea in 1868 and 1975, and the resulting earthquakes generated only destructive local tsunamis with insignificant far-field effects. Well, Hawaii is much bigger than what we're looking at with La Palma, so the potential of La Palma is really quite small. Caldera collapses and large slope failures associated with volcanic explosions of Krakatau in 1883 and Santorini in 1490 BC generated catastrophic local tsunamis, but no waves of significance at distant locations. Now, those are both much, much bigger than what we have at La Palma. Mega-tsunami generation, even from the larger slope failures of island stratovolcanoes, is extremely unlikely to occur. Greater source dimensions, in other words, you need something bigger, and longer wave periods are required to generate tsunamis that can have significant far-field effects. The threat of a mega-tsunami generation from a massive flank failure of an island stratovolcanoes has been overstated. And that's a nice scientific way to say they've been overstated. They've been grossly overblown, is the truth.
Yeah. And this time, above and beyond. I don't know, I think, are we pretty well finished with that?
Well, I would like to say one thing. This is a great sideshow event to distract you from the reality of some of the political stuff that's going on, the threats of freedom in the United States, the threats to medical safety in the United States and in Canada and other places in the world. And so much is going on. I think it's a wonderful distraction for those of evil to have people focused on this.
Yes, and that's exactly what they're trying to do to us. So it is up to us to be good watchmen and watchwomen and really pay attention and use those gifts of discernment that Father has given us and the wisdom to understand the information and the disinformation that is going on there. And this kind of activity is going to increase exponentially, unfortunately. So this is just the beginning, and the best thing is buckle up, buttercups.
Yeah.
You know, if we lose our nuts over this, what is it going to be like when the tests really come hot and heavy? So take all of this information to Father and to Jesus, ask for confirmation or rebuttal. You know, say, well, Terry and Nestor got this a little bit wrong, so I want you to go and look here, or they got it right, look further, learn more. Whatever answer Father and Jesus give you, go with it. Okay? Trust your faith in them. And as our logo down below in the description says, faith over fear, trust that. Practice that. Okay?
Fear serves
everything.
Yeah, fear serves those of evil that seek to control, and fear is a tool of control.
And don't you find that all of this control also goes back to money? When you have money, you have power. And what was one of the first things Jesus said?
Love of money
is the root of all evil. And look at the love of money going on right now. They want so much of it that they're creating these jabs for people. They're creating FFs like this mega-tsunami to distract you from things that are happening here, like something that's about to be dropped on the 22nd in Arizona. You know what I mean? So don't look at the right hand and what it's and you know that it's got a mega tsunami coming out of it. Look at what the left hand is doing.
Now, none of this science was difficult to find. We spent a day researching science on top of what I had already.
Yeah.
And we found multiple articles that supported the position that there would be no mega tsunami, and it far, far, far outweighed any of the very, very weak science that said there would be one. And so why did everybody run with the weak science? Because sensationalism, fear-mongering, drives views. It draws people to your sites, and then you'll get more money from your sponsors. And
from
you know
people
what?
anxious to donate. Keep your money in your pocket, okay?
Yeah. And I am so sorry that so many of you went through this. And I am upset with those people like Dutch Sense, like Steve Benoon, that are quite willing to go out and fearmonger or just won't do the science to report on the truth, because this science was easily found.
And the gossip of, well, I have a source here, I have a source there, but they won't say who it is.
Well, you know what? The sources are all available in science on the web. This can all be looked up. We certainly did. Steve Benoon had no grounds. He had no science backing him up. He had a lot of conjecture and some statements of stuff from the government, and I don't think he supports truth at all.
And unfortunately, a lot of people who watch him who have, you know, 10,000 and 20,000 plus viewers on their own, they went and spread that news even further abroad. So the little that we can do here with all of you, 509 or maybe 10 of you now, small audience, but you're mighty. Go out there. Once you figure all of this out on your own and you believe what you believe, one way or the other, then use the information wisely. Invite people to come and watch and form their own opinion here. Give a thumbs up if you would, please, so we can get the word out to come and look. And remember, all of this is for, we have to say this unfortunately, for education and entertainment, and that you are responsible for your own actions based on the information given by us or by anybody else. Okay? So it all comes down to you. What you do with the information, how you process it, what you believe in, what you know for fact. All right? So here we are at 1 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, redoing this video because it needed to be redone once we got all of the emotion out of the way. So we apologize for the first video. Hope this second video has helped. And if you would like to give a blessing or anything, we can bid everybody good night and good morning.
Well, I would just, I I pray, God, that you bless all our audience and protect them. Let us go forward in strength, in hope, with love, with the Holy Spirit in us. We have no grounds for fear. We have a massive, great God, and all of heaven stands with him and behind us.
So, good evening.
And good morning.
Good morning. And enjoy your coffee before bed or as you're getting up.
And we'll see you next time on Feed My Sheep, Earthquake Reports, and more. Bye for now.
Bye.